what year did we move into our home? 2012. We rented a house. We were getting out of our condo. Ethan was about to be 3. We needed no stairs. We needed a flat floor plan. And we found a home in a really nice neighborhood in a cul-de-sac. And I rented the home from a rental company. And I'll never forget it. My granddad, who was still living at the time, I was really excited to show him the home. So we had just signed the lease. I just got the keys. And we went over to go see it. What I didn't know was that the landlord had not finished painting and stuff. So we walked in when the painters were not there. And all of a sudden, this elderly gentleman walked in. And he said, "Hey, man, who are y'all?" And I was like, I rented the house. And he said, "Oh, okay, well, I'm your landlord." I was like, "Oh, okay, I thought we were," he's like, "Yeah, the company, I hired them." He's like, "I live next door." And I was like, "Wow, that's really, really cool." Fast forward a couple of weeks, and apparently the guy that lived before me, never cut the grass. Is that right, Marcus? It was really bad. And
yeah.
The first thing that I did when I got there was, I wanted to cut the grass. And because it was our first, real yard, So I'm cutting the grass, and that was the first time that I saw that guy, because my landlord and my next door neighbor was his parents. And that is how I met Marcus. And Marcus has come an incredibly long way since I met him. As a matter of fact, the first thing he ever said to me was, we were having Ethan's birthday party at our home, and me I wanted the yard to look good, right? So we were in a June drought, and I'm out there watering it like crazy, and it was midnight, and I was adjusting the sprinkler when he pulled up in his driveway, and he just looked at me, got out of his car, and he said, "You're an animal." And I'll never forget that. And we had a beer out on my back deck, and I told him at the time that we were in the club business, and he came out and visited with us a few times. I met his now amazing wife, Rachel, and we just kind of kept up ever since. But the biggest thing, you guys, if you've been with me for at least 2 years, you guys have seen at least 50 of his videos, yeah? Right? So we've been watching him a lot. He does what we do on an extremely magnified scale. And just about, I credit this guy as one of my most influential mentors, not even just getting to talk to him every day, but because he's got awesome people like that make sure his content's out and about and accessible, right? So, guys, please give it up for Marcus Whitney. Come on up, Marcus. I'm going to turn this off. I need my tune. Let me turn this off. Fantastic. So, Marcus.
Yes, sir.
Friend, neighbor, mentor. You grew up rich, right, with the silver spoon, and everything was handed to you, rolled out for you like a red carpet, right?
Yeah, no. So I like to focus on all the things that I did have growing up, and you've already heard Nick talk about my parents. So I grew up in a household with 2 incredible parents, and that is a huge advantage over many, many other people, so I never want to ever take that for granted. I didn't grow up rich. My parents were working class people and worked very hard and taught me a lot about work ethic, but I did have an incredible household, incredible support system with these parents, and they get almost all the credit for who I am today. So, but no, I didn't grow up rich, and I definitely, left home to figure out my own way. And, when I moved to Nashville in 2000, my parents thought I was absolutely crazy. They still lived in Brooklyn at the time, and Nashville was not on the map the way that it is now, and they thought I was crazy for moving. So, yeah.
So, how old were you when you had your 2 boys?
So I'm 44 now. Tristan's 20, so 24, 23, 24.
24, 25. You were married currently at that time.
Yep.
And waiting tables.
Yep.
Guys, who here doesn't have a story almost identical to that?
Yeah, how many of y'all know the Bellevue neighborhood? Bellevue? Okay, so you know Old Hickory Road, right? You get off 40, and you drive into where the Kroger is and all that kind of stuff. So Sam's Club. So when you get past Sam's Club, on the right, there's this efficiency hotel called In-Town Suites. So a week-to-week hotel. Okay, so that's where I lived. That's where I lived. I lived at In-Town Suites when I was waiting tables, and it was every week was like, am I going to be able to pay for the next week? So that was 2000 till, early 2001. Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about your experience at Emma, right? Because you're writing code and stuff. Now, who taught you how to do that first and foremost?
Yeah, so again, back to the family stuff. My uncle was a programmer at IBM, and so when I was young, my uncle gave me it was called an IBM PC Junior back in the early '80s as a Christmas present. And back then, like, okay, who even knows what that is? Okay. So there used to be this thing called a floppy disk. Okay. And like to run any program, you had like a box of 30 of them, okay? And you'd like put it in and it'd go, and it'd be like, enter next disk. You take it out, you put the next disk in. So basically these computers were so limited in their power, like if you were gonna make them do anything, you had to program them. And so having this computer was basically like my uncle saying, here, learn how to program. Now, granted, that was in the 80s. Programming had come a long way, but I at least had that early experience. It's kind of like when you teach a kid a language, like kids can learn languages or they can learn acrobatics when they're younger. It's much harder to learn things when you're older. So I had that to kind of pull back on. But when I was here, I didn't have any money for, like, no time to go to college, no money to go to college. So I just went to this thing called a bookstore, and I bought a book and would come home after waiting tables and basically do all the exercises in the book and teach myself how to code. So I did that for 6-7 months and applied to a bunch of places and got really lucky and got a job at a company called HealthStream that at the time was based in Cummins Station. They just moved out to Capitol Yards. But yeah, my first job was April 2001. I got the job the day after my second son was born. And that basically changed my life. But yeah, I taught myself how to code.
So, 2 kids, married, got a job, straight path to today, right? No detours, nothing bad happened along the way.
Yeah, so, I think that's the point where it wasn't so much professional stuff, but it was just life stuff that started to creep up. So, 2001, get the job. I pretty quickly learned after a year in that job that I was not cut out for corporate environments, and I didn't understand how to play politics very well. And honestly, it was my fault. I was not a very good employee, and I basically left that company before I got fired. And ended up going to a much smaller company called Anode, as an agency. And stayed there for a year, and then that's when I found Emma in 2003, and I was a 5th employee there. Did that for 4 years. That was incredible, but that was like incredible. Like we were 5 people, we were burning money, and then 4 years later we were 50 people and millions of dollars, and I'm a partner, and that was incredible. But while that was all happening, I was working incredible, ridiculous hours to to start up. We were working really, really hard. There was this one stretch where the software went down. We had to basically rewrite the entire software, and I like lived in the office for like a week. So like would stay up all night, like slept there, would go home just to like take a shower and to go right back in, and just like Red Bulls, you know what I mean, for 7 days. Those are things a lot of people don't know about how companies like that get built a lot of times. But over the course of time, things between me and the mother of my 2 sons, kind of went this way. And in 2007, when I decided that I wanted to leave Emma to go start my entrepreneurial career, I was not paying attention, and I didn't realize that things in our relationship had gone as far as they had, and we started the process of separating, which was like crazy. Not anything I really thought about. The boys were 10 and 8 years old. I didn't really know what that was going to mean for us, for our family. I was lucky that my parents moved down right then. Otherwise I don't know what would have happened. But yeah, that was tough. That was tough.
Tell me a little bit after Emma.
Yeah.
Walk us through kind of what that looks like, because we're going to talk about the portfolio next. And
yeah.
what that means and why.
Yeah. So I left Emma to started an entrepreneurial career, and I had a lot of confidence, but I did not have a lot of knowledge about what that was going to mean. So I did not know what it really meant to run a business. And, I thought I did because I was so close to the founders of Emma, being like that fifth employee and then making me a partner and building a team. But there's the CEO, and then there's everybody else, just to be completely honest. And unless you have every single responsibility under you, nobody can ever tell you what that actually looks like or what that feels like or what it's like to go home every night and bring everything home with you every single day. So it took me going out on my own to understand that, and then learning all these hard lessons that I now make these videos about. About what that's really like. I think the best thing was that when I was at Emma, the culture was so incredible and my bosses were so incredible that they inspired me to want to be a good employee. You know what I'm saying? I really wanted to be great for the company, but I also didn't want to let them down. They were really, really awesome to everybody, and I looked up to them and I wanted to be great for them. That helped me to a degree, in terms of being empathetic towards them. So when I started, I at least had the desire to be that same kind of boss, but I didn't understand all the pressures they were always dealing with as the company was growing and going through different things. So anyway, I left. I started a company called Remarkable Wit that nobody's ever heard of. It's one of several things I've started that nobody's ever heard of. But it was this little agency. We were a team of software developers. We got up to about 8 people, and we were building software for basically for entrepreneurs that had ideas and had money but couldn't build software. And we had 3 or 4 clients. One of them ended up getting a bunch of funding and basically swallowing my entire company. So one mistake I made there was I had one customer that made up about 70% of my revenue, and I kept hiring people against that one customer, and the next thing I knew, they had all the leverage in the business, and I didn't want to ever fire these people that I had hired, and so they basically swallowed my company, and I became a chief technology officer for that company. So that detoured my entrepreneurial goals for years, for 4 years. While that was going on, nights and weekends, I was hanging out with this guy, Vic Gatto, who's a venture capitalist, and we were just exploring what the future of venture capital could look like. Who here knows what venture capital is? Okay, so not many. Okay, so in the world of investment, everyone knows what the stock market is, right? Okay, so the stock market is basically the public markets. That means it's highly, highly regulated by the government. It means that, when you buy a stock, you know what you're buying. It's been regulated. The stuff they have to report to the public every quarter what their earnings were. Very transparent. If they lie, they go to jail. It's all in the interest of protecting the everyday investor, like all of us, right? All American citizens. Venture capital is private investing. So that's where you're taking money and you're investing it into private companies that are basically not regulated at all. They don't have to tell you the truth. They're much smaller companies. Generally speaking, companies on the stock market generally are worth many, many millions of dollars, often billions of dollars. Venture capital companies can be worth $1 million. You know what I mean? Up to 100 million or something like that. So anyway, he was a venture capitalist for 15 years, and usually you're investing money from high net worth individuals, private families, pension funds, things of that nature. So Vic was a venture capitalist for over a decade, but he was looking into how technology was changing venture capital, and I was looking to learn more about venture capital. And so we started a friendship, which started a partnership into what's now called Jumpstart Foundry, and that's how I became a partner there. He was the lead dog. He had the experience in it, but I just worked really hard in nights and weekends outside of what I was doing with the chief technology officer gig, and then he gave me 40% of that company, and then we kind of went from there.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Jumpstart Foundry is still that's alive and killing it today. So.
Yeah. We've got 80 companies in our portfolio. We're the most active investor in healthcare innovation in the country. So we invest in, let's just call it 20 companies a year. Got 35 million under management and growing pretty rapidly. So that's going really well.
So Jumpstart Foundry, is that the only thing I mean, I saw something about professional soccer,
Yeah.
Health Further.
Yeah.
Talk to it. So you've got a portfolio of stuff, and I'm sure they all kind of work together.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. Kind of paint a picture of what that looks like for us.
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, I had these 2 kids, and I was waiting tables 6.5 days a week, and I was always one bad day in the restaurant away from not being able to, like, have a roof over their head. So, like, somewhere in me, I've been running away from that for 2 decades. You know what I'm saying? So I just say that to say, like, I work harder than a lot of people. I just do. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Also, my dad's work ethic was like stupid. You know what I'm saying? So I fit a lot into a short period of time. You know what I'm saying? The other thing is I understand technology, so I know that technology can multiply effort if you know how to do that. So I do that a lot. You know what I mean? I use technology to multiply my effort a lot. And so, yeah, like I did the soccer thing. I parlay things. So, like, I learned about private investing through Jumpstart Foundry, and that gave me an understanding of, oh, this is how companies, like, raise money for things. And then you could look out in the world and you could see, oh, all these companies this is how real estate works, this is how sports works, this is how technology works, this is how hospitals work, this is how all this stuff works, right? So every piece of knowledge, I mean, even like my software stuff, a lot of people don't understand, like because I'm a college dropout, I didn't get educated on business, but I took the concepts of software development and I just applied them to business. You know what I mean? It's like frameworks and operating procedures and these same things like apply. So you just, instead of like thinking I can't know something, I just take the lens that I understand something through and apply it to the next thing that I want to learn. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, I mean, because we could go on and be like, okay, Health Further. Here's what Health Further is. Here's what this is. Here's what that is. The important thing is I have a portfolio of work. The portfolio of work comes from working harder than most people, right? I won't say working harder than any of you. I have no idea how hard you guys work, but just compared to my contemporaries, I work harder than most of my contemporaries. I know because I know what they're doing outside of work hours. I know what I'm doing outside of work hours, right? So I know that. I know that I use technology to leverage my effort, you know what I'm saying? And I know that I leverage each experience and the knowledge from each experience into the next experience. And so I pick up things faster because I see the commonalities between things where people just assume that things are massively different, and they're not.
Right. All right, so we just made another trip around the sun, okay? And the human race basically has goals based on 365 days.
Yep.
So, personally, for me, January 1 looked a lot like December 31 as far as what my purpose is when I get up today.
Yep.
And what to do, but it's a great way to measure things, measure success,
yep.
failure, all that stuff. Talk to these guys. So these guys are starting to do that right now.
Yeah.
Talk to them about kind of like what 2019 meant to you and how you're going to use that to really make 2020 what it's got to be.
Yeah, so my birthday is December 30th, so the new year is also my new year, and so they do, for me, like, it's not just another day. Like, when the new year hits, it's really like I'm thinking about my entire life. So that's, people used to always be like, I'm sorry, and like, as I get older, it's actually really great. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, when the rest of the world is contemplating, I'm, like, double contemplating, right? I think a couple things. So, one, 2019, for me, I just wrote this, was a year of deliverance, meaning like I focused on myself and really getting right with myself, and figuring out like not so much who am I, but like what am I really about? What am I really about? Because while I was bouncing in and out of all these different career moves, it was a 20-year process. I was a very, very different person when I was 24 than I am now at 44. Through my 20s, I was just like working my ass off. Through my 30s, I was trying to get people to believe I was valuable. You know what I'm saying? And I was saying in the last couple years, I'm starting to turn that corner where I really don't give a shit what you think. You know what I mean? Because I know, I've seen this all play out. I know how good I am. I don't, and I also know where I'm weak. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like this inflated ego thing. It's like, I know where I'm strong. I know where I'm weak. I know where I need to work on things. And so I spent a lot of time this last year deprioritizing work and prioritizing working on myself, right? So in order for me to do that, I had to really focus on a lot of things at the physical level. So that meant like it's kind of hard for me to really be introspective and be drunk. So I stopped drinking, you know what I'm saying? And I really, and then when I stopped doing that, then I got a lot more sensitive about basically everything that was happening, you know what I'm saying? My sleep, the food I was eating, I didn't have something, because like I don't have an issue with drinking. People could drink if they want to, that's fine. It's a tool. It just has a lot of negative drawbacks to it. But when I didn't have that tool to go to, it was like, well, my mind was still like running all over the place. So I was like, I need something. So I started meditating, you know what I'm saying? And like now, like I have to meditate basically every day, you know what I mean? Just to like reset myself in that observer space as opposed to like being moved around by my thoughts and my energy and my emotions. Like that stuff always is going to come. It's always going to come, but I need to be in the back, like just watching it all, you know what I'm saying? And being like, okay, cool. And I just, I took the time to really kind of figure out what am I about. Now I know what I'm about, so I can run really, really hard now. You know what I'm saying? I can run really hard with a lot of confidence. And also, the thing is, my kids turned 20 and 18. The youngest got out of the house. I mean, you know that. You basically watched them grow up too, so you know that process. And I think that was a massive milestone for me. You know what I mean? I could for a second breathe and be like, okay, I don't have to worry about the roof over their head and the whole, in-town suites thing. It's just me and my wife now, and she's a baller. So I'm not worried about that. And I got to just sort of lighten up on the gas a little bit, just so I could kind of get healthy, man. You know what I mean? Get well. Right. This is a marathon. This is, you see all sorts of super talented people fall to the level of their systems because they burn out. And it's like I've raised 2 human beings, I've done all these things, and I'm only 44. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I got like 2 or 3 more of what I just, like everything we've talked about, I got like 2 or 3 more of those. You know what I'm saying? And that's not an exaggeration, because you look at life expectancy, you look at science, you look at like what we're learning about nutrition and health and everything like that. Like we're gonna live longer if we don't blow this planet up. You know what I'm saying? So like I have like 2 or 3 more of what I just did. I gotta like take care of this, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm only getting better. It's like I said with the parlaying of information. It's like I take this and I move it into the next thing. It's like, damn, man. Like with all those experiences I just had, what can I do this year? And the truth is, so you asked me like whatever. I haven't gotten into 2020 yet. You know what I'm saying? So this is a year for me of like delivering, right? And the one thing I will say about the calendar year, I agree with you in terms of like December 31st, January 1st. It's like you gotta be in the game every single day. But there's a reality to the energy of the world. You know what I'm saying? There's a reality to the fact that the world slows down at the end of December, and the world picks up in January, and the world is kind of looking for a break in July. And like, so you get to a point where you want to like ride that, and you want to, and then you anticipate it, and then you're prepared for it, and you can kind of roll with that energy as opposed to like willfully trying to force against it because you want things to be the way you want things to be, and that's not the way the world works. So these are all things I've just sort of learned over time, and because of that, I took a really great deep break last week. Because it was fine, but I knew we had to have that damn video ready for today. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, Des, you need to have that damn video ready for today. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, he killed it, did he not?
Yeah. And the other thing is like work back, right? So like I knew, Des, when did I bring that video up to you? When did we first start talking about that?
End of November, beginning of December.
Okay. If I brought it up to him end of November, beginning of December, when do you think I started thinking about it?
2017.
I mean, In September.
Yeah.
Like, I started to know, okay, I know I want to do this, but I need to, like, I mean, look, even when I'm, like, looking at that, right, it's kind of like, who the fuck do I think I am?
Right.
Making a Hollywood movie trailer about myself. You know what I'm saying? But, like, but you gotta, like, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta, like, you gotta realize, yo, you get what you ask for. You know what I'm saying? You get what you ask for. So if I'm not willing to do that, I need to never, ever, ever out of my mouth ever say I want to be anywhere even closely associated with the level of success that The Rock has. If I'm not willing to do that and be uncomfortable and like just push that out in the world, then that's cool. Just be little local Marcus.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. But like, don't ever fix your mouth to say you want to be something great and not be willing to do the most uncomfortable thing you've ever done. Because that's all this is. That's all this is. All this is about when you feel that uncomfortable thing, you know, that's exactly where I have to go. That's exactly what I have to do. You know what I mean? Sitting in this super comfortable thing gets me exactly what I've always gotten. The thing that I'm really comfortable with, this mediocre fucking life.
Yep.
That sucks. That sucks.
I agree. What do y'all think?
You know? So, anyway.
And hey, man, this is good. This is some good church right here. So when you want to shout out an amen, please go ahead and do so. So I heard two things when he just got done talking. Right, one, he talked about taking a break to find himself, but then I also heard you got to be willing to work harder than everybody else. I heard I raised two boys. How did you raise two boys? Start a company, start another company, start a sports franchise. Yet none of the qualities suffered. You were still a good parent, still a good husband. Talk to me about this, because what we're talking about is finding time and creating the space. I hear this from you guys all the time. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I don't have the time, right? How can you do it all? And then how do you know when you've earned the time that you just took?
So, now that it's over, right? Now that it's over, meaning my children are out in the world, okay? And they are, like, by the letter of the law, right? They're out in the world. Their actions are their responsibility. And I can have conversations with them that are much more like a mentor than like a governor, okay? Now that we're there, it's pretty binary. It's like, I did well enough. You know what I mean? And that's kind of it. When you're in the middle of it, it feels like... So, one of the most ridiculous sports on earth that a lot of people like is cricket. And the reason why it's so crazy is because the scores are like 400 to 292. It's like, you know, like how can you keep score that high? You know what I'm saying? Like that many points. And I feel like that's what it's like with life. You know what I'm saying? It's like basically you do the best you can, and at the end of the day, it's pretty binary. It's pretty much either you did enough or you didn't do enough. But like you're gonna fail in some way, large or small, pretty much every day. So you basically gotta do the best you can. I think what matters is the intent. I think what matters is that you learn from your mistakes. I think what matters is that you respect the value of planning. You know what I'm saying? I've become massively obsessed with my calendar habits. Like I probably spend more time in my calendar than in any other app, period. I spend a ton of time on my calendar and not booking appointments with people. I have this thing called a time budget, okay? And I'm realizing when I talk to people, like this is so important. I'm gonna make like an ebook or a course or something about this because like I believe in it so much. So basically, everyone here uses like Google Calendar or Apple Calendar or something like that, right? Right? Okay. Do you, for the most part, feel like you're either like booking appointments for other people or you're fielding things with your calendar? That's how almost everybody feels, right? I mean, that's basically how you feel about it, right? You got the calendar. You're like you're either throwing stuff out there or you're receiving stuff. Do you have like a model for what's allowed in your calendar? If you have a model for what's allowed in your calendar, raise your hand.
I'm sucking up. I don't know.
So here's the aha moment. Do you have a model for what you do with your money? What you're allowed to do with your money? Yes. Okay. What's more precious, money or time? Okay.
Amen.
So why don't you have a model for what you do with your time? A budget for your time. Right. Exactly. So like I spend more time budgeting my time than I do budgeting my money. And it's a lot. So I create this new, fresh calendar, because you can create lots of calendars that you can share with people, blah, blah, blah. You have a work calendar, a personal calendar, whatever. I create this other calendar called a time budget. And I basically design my ideal week if I'm at home, not traveling, and like I don't have things that would disrupt my week, like a board meeting or something like that. Like just like my standard week, which basically I shoot for being half of my life. Right? So there's 52 weeks in the year. 26 of them, I want to look like my ideal week. Okay? And in my ideal week, there's like an hour and a half allowed of external meetings and calls. So like, and I get a lot of people that want me to meet with them to talk about blah, 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 whatever, right? So if someone reaches out and I'm booked out in those blocks for 5 weeks, even if I've got a lot of other availability, I won't take a call or meeting with them until week 6. Because I'm not going to violate the rules that I have for my own time. Does that make sense? Because the minute I do that, then I work out one time less. The minute I work out one time less, I tell myself subconsciously working out wasn't as important as what this person wanted me to do in my life. The minute I do that, then I, and you wonder why you can't do anything that you say you want to do. And it's because you don't own your time. I'm telling you, man, like this is the thing. This is the thing. We all have the same amount of time on this, on Earth. So the question is, how do some people from unbelievably terrible circumstances still manage to achieve unbelievable things? And it's like what they do with their time. I mean, the luck is a big thing, but it's like what you do with your time. It's like, my son and I, we achieved black belts in Hapkido in 4.5 years. How did we do that? Because basically just about every week we went to class 3 times. If we had gone 2 times, it would have taken 6 years. End of story. It's math. It is math. You know what I'm saying? Like so much of what you get in the world is math. It's math, and it's not even like Calc 2. You know what I'm saying? This is like 2nd grade fucking math, man. It's like the simplest math on earth. But like, we don't think we have the right to control our time because of manners or whatever, or somebody, and the thing is, we do that, but we discount how different this era is than any other era. See, like, back in the days where in order for somebody to get a hold of you, they either had to write you a letter or call you and catch you when you were at home because you didn't have a cell phone because they didn't exist. The number of interruptions or requests for your time were like 1/100,000th of what they are today. Right. But we don't give ourselves any credit for that. For the reality that the demands on a human being's time have grown exponentially. We still feel like we need to apply the same concept of manners today as we did forever ago. But now we got text messages, emails, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, you can't do it all. Like, you got to decide, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? You know what I mean? What do you want to do? What's important? I got 6 hours every week that's blocked out on his calendar and my calendar for content. We're recording 6 hours a week. It's the only way I'm going to keep getting this content out there. That's it. If my business partner wants to book a meeting during that time, you know what the answer is? No! That's my time to do my content. You have 2 hours a week. And I got some flex time in there. Don't worry. I got some Slack in there that I can like overflow things, because you got to build systems with Slack, because you can't 100% control everything. So you got to anticipate that, and you build some Slack into your system for what you can't anticipate. But like, I don't care who it is. I control my time, because that makes me the most potent, powerful human being I can be for all the people in my life that are depending on me. You know what I'm saying? And the minute I start sacrificing that because I think I'm doing someone else a favor, I'm actually running into a hole. I'm running way over on this topic because I care about it so much. But this is such a big deal for anything anybody is struggling with. I mean, for me, like that was part of the thing with drinking. It was like, okay, I'm saying I want to do this, but like, I'm not planning for hangovers. I'm not scheduling hangovers. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting older. They're taking longer. You know what I'm saying? It's like at some point, I just had to say, look, this thing and I are no longer in alignment. I want to have control of my time. In order for me to do that, I have to be able to predict as much about how my time is going to lay out as possible, knowing I don't control it all, right? So I got to eliminate the variables. That's a bad variable. You know what I mean?
So you hold, you're accountable for your time.
Yep.
Your time also holds you accountable, meaning if you got a meeting at 8, you got to be there.
I'm gonna take a screenshot and send it to you so you can send it to everybody of what my time budget looks like. It's pretty intense. It's pretty intense. You know what I'm saying? But don't get me wrong. I've got Slack in there, but it's intense because I know that I want to be one of the most influential, inspirational people in the world. In order for that to happen, I have to not just continue to create content consistently, but I have to create better content, right? And I have to figure out how to create more of it. So I have to dedicate a pretty significant amount of time to that goal, okay? In the next 10 years, I want to become a master in Hapkido. So I have to reserve that time. I also want to get a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm a white belt. That's going to take 10 years. So, and that's going to take 10 years of like, 5 hours, 6 hours a week.
Injury, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like all that. And then like, how do I do all that and not get injured? Well, I probably need to stretch like 4 solid hours a week. Like I'm not talking about like this. I'm talking about like, stretching, like where it hurts for an hour a day, 4 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the kind of, like knowing exactly when I'm gonna eat, like creating context around my days. Mondays are my days to be in the office at my company. I basically don't go in the office except for on Mondays. You know what I'm saying? Because I roam around the world. Now, for the first five years of the company, I was in the office all the time. But we've grown the company doesn't need me there, the company needs me around the world doing this other stuff. Anyway, you get the point. The point is like, I'm saying I want to do this stuff. I know I want to do this stuff. Okay, where's my money where my mouth is? It's got to be in what I say I do with my time. It's got to be there. And I have to own that. And everyone else has to deal with that. You know what I mean? Yep. Does that make sense?
I think we had a question.
What's your opinion on sleep when it comes to time? Do you believe you have to have a certain number of hours of sleeping? Do you believe in taking naps, that kind of thing?
Yep. I'm gonna work backwards. So this ring is a sleep tracker. It's called Aura. You can take a look at it. On the inside, it's got those little sensors. Tracks my heart rate variability, the quality of my sleep. So I'm like super obsessed with sleep. Super obsessed with sleep. Got really obsessed with sleep after I stopped drinking because I realized, oh my God, I can actually sleep. And I can track the quality of how I perform in the day based on my sleep. So, massive believer. I can't really manage to get to a consistent 8 hours of sleep. There's something about my body and what my practice is right now that basically max out at about 7 hours and 15 minutes. It kind of maxes out there. So I'm working on that. That's something I'm trying to figure out. So I guess that kind of backs into the second thing, which is I pretty much always fall short. But, it's kind of like a shoot for the stars, hit the moon kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like you're so much better off having a system and failing here and there as opposed to having no system that okay, fine, if you spent a little extra time on social media on one day, the most important thing is to not beat yourself up because that's the bigger issue, right? You know what I'm saying? If you beat yourself up, then you're going down a really bad spiral. You know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying, by the way? Yeah, the point is you don't hold yourself accountable by beating the shit out of yourself, okay? You hold yourself accountable by acknowledging what happened, trying to think about, okay, why did that happen? You got to be curious. You got to ask yourself, I said this, I did this, what's up with that? You know what I'm saying? And get to the point where you can understand what's up with that. It's not so much about punitive models for holding yourself accountable. It's more about understanding why is your conscious saying one thing and your subconscious doing a different thing. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever your subconscious is doing is actually telling you, I have a desire, I have a need for something that you haven't sort of fulfilled here. And it may be a much better way for you to get that thing that you're getting through the social media thing that you can actually build into your time. Does that make sense? So this whole thing is about learning yourself and learning about what's really driving you and optimizing for that. You know what I'm saying? This is not a complete, I tell myself everything what to do. You know what I mean? A lot of the lessons, this is also part of why sleep is so important because you get good sleep, you get, REM sleep, you learn from your dreams, you synthesize things, you wake up with all the brilliant ideas in the morning, right? So a lot of this is understanding that part of life is mystical. It really is. You're not going to figure out everything with the math brain. You know what I'm saying? Some of it is you have to feel, you have to allow things to be revealed to you, but you have to be in a place to do that. You know what I'm saying? And this is where the whole parasympathetic versus sympathetic systems kicks in. You know what I'm saying? If you're in fight or flight, that can't happen. You know what I mean? You have to be open. You have to be relaxed. You have to be calm, and that's why you can't beat yourself up. You beat yourself up, you're tense, and you actually are you're prolonging the problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just think for me, when it comes to time, I feel like I'm too passive and I'm not honest enough about it.
Okay.
When it comes to that.
Okay.
I'm saying I can allow myself. I look at my phone. I'm gonna check this notification, and I find myself 20 minutes later.
Do you meditate?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
How often?
In the morning.
Every day?
Every morning.
Okay. You're just being harsh on yourself. I can tell. I can tell. You're actually pretty far along, and you want more progress, and you just got to be patient. You're going to look back a year, and you'll be so much further along than you are. You're not going to stand still. With the effort and the intent that you're putting in, a year from now, you will have improved. You just got to not. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you're doing a lot of the right things. You just got to be patient and kind. Just be kind to yourself.
I was going to say amen. I was going to say amen. Amen.
We've been telling Tim that for weeks.
Okay.
Literally that word for word. So you're very perceptive.
Oh yeah, no. I can tell you're definitely doing the right things, and you just gotta, But the thing I'm telling you is a very real thing. Okay, this, people have a hard time not being hard on themselves. That's actually a really big leap. There's a lot of there's stuff tied up in that. You know what I'm saying? We learned from society and often from family of origin that the way to improve is through punitive measures. Okay? That's what society is sort of ingrained in us. And that is not always right. It's just not always right. And we're learning that now, through science. Through a convergence of different levels of science, different types of science, we're learning it's not really how humans work. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just something to take to heart. It's just something to take to heart that you will actually progress more if you can relax. Does that make sense?
That is an awesome answer. Thank you, Marcus. My question is, when you got out of the long-term stay hotel, when things became more comfortable, when you got that upgraded job, and you were making enough to pay your bills, you were no longer physically as uncomfortable. What was it that kept you going? What made you want to continue to be the best you that you can be? How do you hold on to that drive when the option now exists to be comfortable?
I have to assume this is different for different people. So I'm just going to answer for me with a huge disclaimer that this is not in any way a statement about what other people should do or that what I'm saying is right or anything like that. Is that okay? Because I do think like drive is an individual thing, right? And everyone's drive is fine. It's totally fine. There's not like one drive that's better than another drive. But you asked me how I didn't get comfortable. And the answer is my view is kind of never ending. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure, because I can't remember distinctly, but I'm not sure if my mother in particular ever like told me that I was going to have some like great impact on the world, but I feel like she did. And so like I'm not comfortable now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know when I would be comfortable. Like and by the way, it's part of this is because like it's not about me, because I don't want things. I drive a beat up Nissan Rogue. It looks worse than his car. I don't want a nice car. That is not what drives me, right? That is not what drives me. And by the way, I kind of like the fact that it looks the way it looks, but my net worth is what it is. I kind of like that. You know what I mean? What drives me is knowing that like there's a lot of people in the world that I believe are not necessarily being seen, not necessarily being inspired properly, and that the world would be a better place if they were seen and were inspired, and I don't think the world is as good as it could be. And so like that's my thing. Part of it is because I got these two kids, and it's like, what do you bring kids in the world for if not to like try to hand them over a world that's, you know what I mean? Like the inheritance I'm trying to give them is not like a bank account. You know what I'm saying? It's like a planet. So, it's just the scope. It's just the scope of what you see, Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, that's my answer. Everyone's got their own version of that or whatever. You know what I mean?
The most difficult thing for me, balancing a lot of things that I have going on in my life, especially a family and multiple businesses, is being inside of, I can manage my time, I can manage my money, but when I'm in that slot of time, I'm always thinking about something else.
Yeah.
And how do you go about maximizing your time and being in that time?
Yeah. Okay, do you meditate?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know much about it.
Okay, so let's take a second and just talk about what like mindfulness practice, meditation, and why you may be seeing LeBron James on TV talking about it, and why it's becoming more of a thing. So people used to talk about meditation sort of in the context of Eastern philosophies and religions and yoga and things that I think a lot of people didn't personally identify with, especially in the United States of America, and so they sort of saw it as something, hey, that's their thing over there, we do prayer, right? You know what I mean? Or whatever, right? Something that feels more native, right, to their experience. And what we've kind of learned over time through neuroscience is that mindfulness practice or meditation is really about practicing how to properly engage with the mind. Because the thing that is making those moments difficult is that your mind is like throwing a bunch of thoughts at you, and you have no ability, because you haven't developed it. Just like you wouldn't be able to lift anything if you never worked on it, right? It's the same thing with your mind. The very first thing you learn as you start to establish a meditation practice is you start to be able to differentiate the voice in your head, or the multiple voices in your head, and all the thoughts that come at you from yourself, right? You start realizing, oh shit, I am actually not all these thoughts that are constantly running in my head. They're just constantly in my head all the time. And like, I don't know where they're coming from. I can't stop them from coming, okay? Like literally when you sit in meditation, especially when you get into the practice of it, you will, you'll sink into your breath, and then like a thought will like, and then you'll be on the thought. And then like a minute later, you'll be like, how did that happen? I was just focusing on my breathing. I was just focusing on, this happens, by the way, this happens to me every single day. You know what I mean? And what the meditation practice does for me is it gives me regular experience with that reality, so that when I'm in the moment and the very same thing that happens to you happens to me, which happens every day, I have familiarity with it. So I can catch it quicker and I can get back. There is no stopping it. In this world, with all these devices and all this shit going on, and EMFs and blah, 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 there's no stopping it. But there is getting back faster. There is recognizing it and being able to gently, not harshly, but gently be like, oh, cool, that was funny. You just like totally took me off. I'm going back. Thank you for the idea. I'm going back to my regular scheduled programming now, right? You know what I mean? Like that's what meditation does for you. I don't know of anything else that does that. Okay, which is why that's why I asked it, because what you're talking about is your mind is out of control. Okay, you do not. It's what you just said. You don't have control of your mind. You schedule time. You sit down to do something. You make up your mind you're going to do something, and then your mind has other plans. Is that fair? Okay, so the only way that you can progress in that situation is to develop a practice to be able to have a different level of relationship than you currently have with your mind, right? To develop a level of mastery. And that takes a long time, but the first step is just being able to recognize the difference between you and the mind. Because they're not the same thing. You're not your mind. This is super important, because if you don't get that, sometimes those words and thoughts will come into your head and you'll be thinking you're talking. You're not talking. Okay? There's all sorts of ideas like popping in all the time. So that's why I don't really have a better thing to tell you than that. But I can tell you I identify with it. It happens to me all the time. Happened to me today. Happens all the time. I definitely have ADHD. I mean, that's why part of the reason why I have so many businesses is because I can't stay focused. You know what I mean? I have to be doing a bunch of different things. But I find a way to like at least focus enough to like move the ball down the field a little bit. You know what I mean? I hope that was helpful. Because I know sometimes people don't like the answer, but it's the only answer I know. You know what I mean? The problem is a universal human problem. It's not specific to you. I hope that makes you feel better. Like it's not a you problem. It's a universal. Yeah, it's a universal human.
Balanced my checkbook and did a whole bunch of stuff while you were
For a lot of us, I think the meditation is kind of, from just listening to questions, that's like every question on everybody. What would you recommend if some of us wanted to start that process? Like, how would we enter that to start that way?
Yeah. So this is where like you shift from things happening to you like happening to things. So there's a good side and there's a bad side to technology. You know, the bad side is like too many different options. The good side is like people have created solutions for just about everything. And if you can get to the point where you use your phone as a tool, like you can really overcome a lot of things. And so, I'm not religious about this stuff. There are so many fantastic apps out there that work on the phone. It is what I use. It's practical. You can track. It works really well. I use this app called Calm. It's just a very simple app, but there's an app called Headspace. There's this app called Waking Up. There's an app called Insight Timer. I would just go onto your app store and search meditation and find the gazillion apps that are there and try one and see what works for you. But the most important thing is you got to carve out 10 minutes a day and be willing to sit through 2 weeks of feeling dumb and not liking it and feeling uncomfortable and wishing you were doing anything but what you're doing until day 15 when finally you're like, oh shit, I get it. Like I see it, I feel it, I can tell. Until then, it's like any other change that you seek to make. The first 2 weeks are bad. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like change is not awesome. You know what I mean? We kind of just want to be who we are and just like leave me alone. But it's like, if you believe there's a next level for you and you want to access that next level, then there are tools. There are tools. All right.
Good deal.
You have a question in the back, Nick. You got 2 questions.
2? All right.
So you said that you've got a number of companies, a number of things that pull you in different directions. How do you know when to start one of those journeys? So, like, we all have things, whether it's with our business or with family or with another project or something else. A lot of your projects are very different in that soccer is not the same as the content that maybe you put out. How do you know and feel confident when you've got an idea that you now need to lean into, invest money, time, energy to? How do you make that decision?
Yeah. So one thing I'll say is as I get older, I get better at knowing. And it's a balance of being able to properly assess the opportunity, because the more times you've failed, the more you learn about what all the possible pitfalls are. The other thing is I'm getting much, much better at being able to determine my time that I can actually put into something, right? You know what I mean? So I have a history of doing a lot of stuff. In the future, that's going to get slimmed down. You know what I mean? Because I don't have to try as many things. I've got a couple things that already work, and I need to kind of figure out how to grow those things. And I want to spend a lot of time doing this. I want to spend a lot of time doing this. But there's really kind of there's no good replacement for doing, because you learn by doing. You know what I'm saying? And everybody is different. Part of what you will learn is like by doing and trying things is like what your strengths are versus what your weaknesses are. So I've learned a lot about, I'm not a terrible manager of people, but I have a lower than optimal threshold for bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And that's not awesome for management, I don't think. I think you need to be, it's like if you're a good manager, like, you draw lines and you kind of, you manage to goals for sure, but you also have to be really understanding of the fact that people are people and they're going through all these different kinds of things and blah, blah, blah. I'm not nearly as good at that as I would want to be, so I wouldn't hire myself to be a manager, but I didn't know that until I managed a bunch of people. You know what I'm saying? Like that, what I'm telling you is not theory, this is practice. You learn by being a practitioner. You know what I'm saying? Like every single thing I am telling you up here, I've done. I'm not telling you anything I've read. I am not an academic. You know what I'm saying? I've never had a good GPA in my entire life, but like in terms of like really, the reason why I'm so confident in everything I'm saying is because I've done it. You know what I mean? So I know meditation works because I do it. So it's the same thing with businesses. I failed a bunch. But I didn't stop. I just was like, oh, now I understand why this failed. Failed for X reason, Y reason, Z reason. That learning is so massively valuable. And because it's experiential learning, it's deeper. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know it academically. I know it for real. So.
It's something about change. How do you change what you're about but not who you are? Does that make sense? I've got some things in my life I want to change. How I eat.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like I waste too much time not getting good sleep.
Okay.
But I like what I'm about, but I don't feel like I'm getting the best out of myself.
Can you be more transparent? Okay, so here's what I mean.
I'd like to eat better. I'd like to not drink as much.
Well, okay, so
I'm not a big drinker. But,
yeah, no, okay,
but there's just there's multiple things. I mean, I'm young. I'm single. I'm enjoying my life.
yeah, sure.
I would like to. I'd like to sleep less and get more out of my time, but get more out of when I'm sleeping. So what I'm saying is, I don't feel like I'm getting as much out of my. I'm not being. I don't know. I'm kind of confused.
No. No, you're actually making perfect sense. Yeah, you're making perfect sense. And how old are you?
30.
Okay, yeah, you're making good sense. So you will become more who you are when you start making those changes. The things that you're doing that are not serving you are pulling you away from who you are.
And I know this. I'm realistic. I promise myself I know. But like you said, just gotta do it. Right?
Yeah.
I'll get back to you.
Yeah. I mean, who you are, like who you are is you're a human being, and the natural state of a human being is to be healthy and to be optimal and to be clear and to feel on purpose. That is the natural state. Now, is that the norm? No. Why is that not the norm? Because society, and largely driven by economics, right? You know what I'm saying? Is basically constantly marketing to people. Marketing. You're being marketed to all the time. So you're being sold something that is not really real and not really resonating with you. And, you know, as you get older, you become less of a customer and you start to be able to more easily reject all the marketing that's coming at you. But when you're younger, it's harder because you don't know as much yet. You know what I'm saying? But what I'll tell you is, like, society is basically killing people by marketing as much as they're marketing to us. Okay, like that's actually how bad it is. It's actually that bad. Because here's what they know. They're hacking humans. They know we are social creatures. They know that as much as we want to be healthy and happy and great, the only thing we want to do more than that is fit in. That's the only thing we want more than that. And they are constantly trying to tell you, if you do this, you'll fit in more. You know what I mean? You know how many people like drink really so they can fit in? Not even because they like to drink. Man, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, like, you have to get to this point where you realize there is a world out there that, if I take these brave steps, would actually love me and embrace me. But that doesn't get marketed anywhere. And anytime someone comes and talks about that, they're somehow a fucking weirdo like me, right? Because I'll hang out with you if you don't drink. We can go to Radnor Lake and go walk. You know what I'm saying? But dude, like, that's hard. It was hard for me. I'm telling you, man, the first 30 days that I stopped, I was like, I don't know who I am. What am I going to do? I don't know what this is going to be like. You know what I mean? Literally, the first whole year was just like, you know, and I didn't go to like meetings and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because I didn't identify with that narrative. Okay? So for me, it was just like, this is not healthy for me. I'm going to stop doing this. And then, like, I had to go through all of the, like, oh, God, this is just so much in my head. You know, now I've gone through an entire year of having, you know, my first 4th of July without it, my first birthday without it. Now I've had 2 birthdays without it. You know what I'm saying? My first weddings without it. My first vacation to Puerto Rico without it. And it's like, actually, life's pretty awesome. But, dude, that would have been a hard sell when I started. That would have been a really hard sell because it's unknown. I don't know. And what do I fear most? Do I really fear, fear feeling better? That's not what I fear. I fear not fitting in. I fear telling people and then people judging me or alienating me or their own issues being projected on me, right? So the reality is you make these changes, you become more of who you are, but it takes courage. You know?
Excellent. Hold on just a minute. All right, so listen, we've been here a minute. Y'all doing okay? Yeah. All right, listen, I would not be doing you guys justice. First of all, leaders, we're getting together, guys. We're doing our 2020 Leadership Summit next week. Leaders, I want you guys to realize something. We've been on 35 minutes on purpose and time. Think about that. Purpose and time, all right? and we need to keep this moving. And we could go all day. I bet we could not. Could we not, everybody?
Yes.
Right? But I would not be doing you guys justice if we didn't talk just a little bit about sales. Okay? And doing and consistency and doing the work. Right? So first of all, Jeremiah, I'm gonna get to you in a second, but the video you guys just saw, there's a newsletter that he puts out every single week. Last year, it was called The Grind. Have you guys ever read something and you felt like he wrote it specifically just for you? Right? That's what it felt like every single time. And it's not because what he told me, I know exactly what's wrong in my life. It's because he told me what I needed to gauge on myself. Right? So when I look at The Rock's Instagram, it's not because I want 100 million likes like he has. Of course we all do. But I'm looking at what he posted, when, and why. And then I'm comparing mine to that. Right? So when he put out that newsletter, which is free, and all of you guys can sign up right now if you want to. Don't get out your phones just yet. We'll do that at the end, right, Ray? Sorry. But it's fantastic. And it's it's a 10-minute read or less.
Yeah.
And it's every Monday morning. It's right there when you wake up. Every single time. So it's absolutely fantastic. So, Jeremiah, are you cool if we talk about a little bit of sales real quick? Is that okay with you? Awesome. All right. So
Hold on. Or could we get him in as the last one, and I promise we'll do sales after that?
yeah, absolutely. I'm
Can we
good. Y'all
do-
good?
can we do
Y'all
that?
Good? All right.
Let's do that.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about naysayers. You know, people that are really negative. I know probably in your journey you have people that were super negative or
Dude.
talk down on your path. So my biggest thing is, I didn't go to college. I'm super young, so I got a lot of elder people, my family, or just friends that kind of talk down on my path. They don't really see the vision. What would be something that you would tell somebody that's young, trying to keep that confidence and keep that drive with the negativity?
Yeah, okay. I'm glad we didn't pass you up. That's a good one. There are a lot of pros to being young, and there's a lot of cons to being young, right? One of the cons are that you are not proven yet. So everybody's doubting you. You know what I'm saying? One of the pros is, like, your belief in yourself and your rebelliousness should be like through the roof. You know what I mean? And I actually think like this situation is exactly the situation to rely on that part of youth. You know what I'm saying? Like, eventually you're going to inherit the whole world. You know what I'm saying? But then you'll be the older person looking at the younger people like, oh, they might not know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So while you're not, and while you're still the young person that's totally unproven, that nobody really believes in because you haven't done anything yet, you know what I'm saying? You got to be in that pocket of like, these old people don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm a run this place. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying? Heads down, man. Heads down. You ever climb a mountain? So, you cannot climb a mountain like this. You know what I'm saying?
There's a video on this too on your YouTube.
You climb a mountain like this. One step at a time. You know what I'm saying? Track your own progress. You know what I'm saying? Every time you see yourself making progress, you are reinforcing with yourself. You know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, this is really going to pay off later. This is really going to pay off later because one of the most mind-bending things, like, I have a chapter in this book that I've been writing for almost 5 years. It's called Don't Believe Your Own Press. And the minute I started to turn the corner and people started to like recognize me and know who I was, and the press started coming in, like I was so like, finally, validation, you know what I'm saying? But it just set me up for like this really bad emotional roller coaster. And I finally like been in the paper enough. They're like, I don't even read it. I don't even care about it. Because I know like they don't know what's really going on. Sometimes they'll write something terrible and things are great. Sometimes they'll write something awesome and things are terrible. You know what I'm saying? And over time, you start to realize like what other people think about you absolutely means nothing. Nothing. They don't know you. They don't know what's going on in your life. They don't know like what your plans are. They don't know. All they're doing is looking at you through their own lens, projecting their own doubts, fears, and insecurities on you, sometimes because they love you. So you're young, be young. You know what I'm saying? Believe in yourself. Be rebellious, not to a point of self-destruction, but like, you know, it's okay to be like, they don't know what they're talking about. Totally. It's totally cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know, like, you want to, like, honor them, and, you know, I get that. But, like, you can ask my dad. You know what I'm saying? In fact, one day, I don't know if you've ever talked to him, but, like, I'm going to get you to ask him what he thought when I moved to Nashville. When I first told him that, he thought I was absolutely fucking crazy.
I've asked him that question.
He thought I was out of my mind, okay? And then I got the job at HealthStream, and he was like, oh, things are great. And then I left that job, and he thought I was absolutely fucking crazy.
He said, man, he's making like $300,000, and he walked out the door, man.
I was making $45,000. But the point is like, it took him 15 years to realize I'm just going to sit back and watch because I don't know what you know about your life, but you clearly know something. You know what I'm saying? It took him that long, you know? And, I mean, honestly, man, really, it took me 20 years before people really stopped, like, doubting me, man. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, it takes a long time, man. You think this is bad? The 30s are real bad because I'm telling you, the 30s are rough. Because you're past the 20s, so you're actually like past a lot of like the immature stuff, you know what I mean? And you're like serious, you're really ready to get out here and get it. And everyone's like, you're 30. You're like an idiot. You don't know anything. You know what I mean? Like the 30s are really hard. Really hard. There's a lot of like trying to prove it to the 50-year-olds that like, you know, you're going to crush it when you're in your 30s. So the 20s are kind of fun because people still think you're a kid. You know what I mean? People still think you're like a teenager or something. You know what I mean? And like, they got to tell you every little thing to do, you know? But you're not. You're an adult, you know? And I'm not telling you anything that I just said is going to make it magically go away. But I'm trying to point you in the direction of a mindset that will help you make it through. Does that make sense?
It's your parents' job to protect and keep you safe until you get to the point where he just talked about, where they're like, oh, he's got this figured out, right? And I'm 39, it's literally what he said is, like my parents just now started believing me, I believe myself, and it took me my whole 30s to get that right?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And now when I first moved in, your dad John would say, man, he's crazy, he's going to go do his own thing, and then Mom, Miss Izzy, was saying, oh, Marcus, this is what you get. I mean, she was like a whisperer, man, like unbelievable. You could write a book about her.
Yeah, I know.
Said,
I always give them the props, man. It's like, you know, I know. I mean, I'm showing up every single day and doing the work and all that other kind of stuff, but you know, I know where my battery came from. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't ever try to act like that was not special. That was special. You know.
That's right. Okay, so
sales
and doing the work. So 2 quotes that came from you. Actually, I listened to a little clip yesterday. It talked about immediacy versus building a foundation.
Yeah.
Right? So all these guys come in here. He just said the first 2 weeks of anything new sucks. Right? Sound familiar?
Yes.
Right. And if it still sucks after 2 weeks, is that when you quit, Marcus, or you're 2 weeks in already by then, right?
Nah, man. I mean, I was just saying the first 2 weeks sucks. I mean, it kind of sucks for a while, you know.
He just said it's been sucking for 20 years. Right? So let's talk about doing the work before we hit the sales piece, right? So let's talk about doing the work. We've talked about these guys managing their time, owning their time, finding themselves.
Yeah.
Right? But you found yourself when like a lot of the work was done. Like you earned that time to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So let's kind of bridge that gap for me a little bit about like what it means to do the work. Because all you guys are here because nothing else was good enough. Yeah. We say that all the time. And I still believe the USHA is the best, if not, or it's one of the best, if not the best, opportunities for somebody who has lost their whole life to turn that around and do whatever and own your time and own your money, right? It's an unbelievable platform if used properly, but it's hard. Is there anything where you can make lots and lots of money, work from home, and it'd be easy?
No.
Okay.
No.
Are we good on that?
No. No. There's nothing. But there's also no. Okay, I want to say two things about what you just said. So the first thing is, yes, I did earn the right to work on myself. However, what I learned is there were no mentors around me at any point in time, and I think this is more of a societal thing. There were no mentors at any point in time that made the connection between my well-being and my performance. And I think we're now starting to wake up to the fact that there is a deep connection between your well-being and your performance. And so I would not repeat my last 20 years. I would have taken much better care of myself, and I think I would have had much better results. So I'll just say that. And when I say much better results, I don't mean just in life. I mean in business. I mean I would be more successful, richer, and everything else had I taken better care of myself than I did. So that's just which might mean not having worked as many hours.
Sure.
Which could mean not having worked as many hours, but like focusing on sleep, focusing on what I ate, focusing on exercise, and these other kind of things. I can't say for sure. But I got kind of a hunch that things would have played out better if I would have focused more on well-being. Now, the second thing is, if you work a job where you do not control your time, your ability to impact your life with authority is significantly lower than the person who does control their time. I mean, significantly. Like, people, you could take a person who's making $150K a year, but like has to work 80 hours a week and is very, very tied to, and has a manager and is very sort of tied to that, and a person who makes $40K a year, but they control their time, and I'm telling you, the $40K person wins. They win because there is, but it goes back to the time thing, right? It goes back to people are not properly applying a monetary value to time. Time is massive. It is the absolute game changer. And if you want to really know how the most successful rich people in the world get that way, it's because they have unbelievable control of their time. Unbelievable control of their time. And you can Google this. There are videos out there of Warren Buffett and Bill Gates where Bill Gates basically like bows at the altar of Warren Buffett and says, I thought I was smart because I had all these meetings, and then I met Warren Buffett who like has a meeting a day. And then I realized, oh shit, I'm not doing the right thing with my time. And Warren's like, yeah, I gotta have time to read. How else am I gonna read a book a day if I'm meeting with everybody? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so it's like the time thing. I'm backing you up on what you said about this opportunity.
There's a result that has to be right made.
Oh, of course. Of course.
For somebody that if they measure, like I was told, you go to school for this month for first grade and then
yep.
second grade.
Yeah.
Based on my knowledge, I'd still be in elementary school.
That's
probably.
Right. That's right.
And you probably would be too.
That's of course.
And then some of you guys would have graduated all 12 grades in probably like 2 years, right? But we were told from jump, this is how long you're going to be in school. This is how you're graded. I feared going home without getting A's and B's on the report card. So like I was manipulated to not control my time and to be fearful. Right.
Like if what you just said, if what I heard you say is that through this opportunity you have the opportunity to be entrepreneurial, and to control your time, you really just can't understate that. Then you have to decide sort of what you want to do with your time. Do you actually want to like leverage this opportunity, or like what do you want to do? You know what I mean? Things are stepping stones. You know what I'm saying? And like success begets success. It doesn't mean that like everything you do is always going to work out, and it doesn't mean that if you fail here, you're going to fail in the next thing. Those things aren't true, but the principles of being successful do carry on, right? So if you're here right now, and this is where you are, and you're spending your time and energy here, you should be spending your time and energy building your principles of success. Your personal principles of success. They have to kind of roll up to this group's principles of success. Ultimately, there has to be alignment there. There can't be discord. But your personal principles for success, like that's what you're here to work on. Does that make sense? Like that's the whole reason you're here, is to work on that. And in doing that, you have a reciprocal symbiotic relationship with Nick and Rhiannon. That's what this is. Has anyone ever heard of the principal agent problem? So in game theory's got a lot of different models. Principal agent is the problem that basically is the principal is basically the owner, and the agent works on behalf of the owner, right? And so the problem is that the agent is generally speaking incentivized in a way that is different from the principal, and sometimes the agent, because their incentive model is different from the principal, they start doing things that don't actually serve the principal. Okay? And that happens in a lot of employee scenarios. So if you're in a scenario that aligns you with the principal, and even as an agent you can behave like a principal, then that is actually the best possible economic arrangement you can be in. It is.
Does that sound familiar? Like, what kind of an economic arrangement are we in? So, Chris, how much do you get paid for showing up today?
0.
How much do you get paid for any time you spend with any one of your agents?
0 directly.
You get paid when?
When they write business and when I write business.
You get paid when they get paid,
Yes.
right? So, technically, we work for you guys.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, that's clear. That's truth.
Yes.
Right? There's no funny business going on in there. That is, you are incentivized by the one clear goal: close business. And everybody is aligned around on that very same thing, right? So everyone's got skin in the game. So everyone's got to be supporting everybody. You're all like rowing in the same direction instead of like, one person over here saying, I'm going to try and get this overtime because that gets me like 1.5 times a check. And even though that's going to be draining the company of their resources, what the hell do I care because it means an extra Christmas present? See what I'm saying? That's principal agent issues. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Where the incentive models don't actually align to the overall success of the business. If you've got an economic model where they do align and they do sort of feed in and everyone can kind of say, this is what incentivizes me. Does that align with you? Yep. Oh, great. Then then you have principal. You know what I mean? And this sounds like, to me, like you got a whole bunch of principals. It's just a room full of entrepreneurs. And that's the shit.
Thank you, Troy McQuaid, who is an amazing CEO. They put all this together. It's fantastic. All right. So we've watched Ready, Fire, Aim, and we've watched Sales is a Game of Shots on Goal, I don't know, probably 100 times. Even since July, we watched it in the training room multiple times. And everybody here gets paid when you help another family out. You get them a policy that they want, right? And then you get paid once they've accepted that policy. So you get paid to sell a policy to another human being, right? That they chose, that they want, that they own. So, Marcus, it takes, on average, company average, 3 sales a week, not even one a day, to make $150,000 a year your first year here.
Okay.
That's the opportunity that we have.
It's great.
To grow up. So
it's great.
Now, everybody in here, did everybody here make $150K? It's okay, right? It's all right. But everybody can. But let's talk about how we get to 3 sales a week, okay? Because that's what you got to get to, 3 sales a week on average, all right?
Okay, great. So this goes back to the time budget thing. Goes right back to that, okay? So starts with you got to control your time in order to hit the goals that you want to hit. That's the beginning. 3 sales a week. So it's a math problem, and I don't know the math because the variable is this thing called conversion, right? That's the variable. Everyone knows what conversion is, right? Okay. So here's the math of sales. How many attempts? That's the shots on goal piece, right? How many attempts? What is the quality of your attempt? Okay? So that increases the conversion. And then how good was your target to begin with? Okay? That's sales.
So
That's the whole thing.
we measure activity through, we have multiple ways we can get a sale. It can be through Facebook, through networking, through internet leads
Yep.
that we buy. And, you have to talk to a certain number of people a day. It used
Yep.
to be 80 calls a day meant one sale, and it was 250 and 300 internet leads were getting saturated.
Yep.
The measuring piece, that's the piece that, like, most of us don't have when we wake up. When we go to bed every night, how do we measure if today was productive or not? Right? So I believe that it's like you said, quality on the lead, quality on the target. Conversations happening is kind of step one, right? If you're talking to people, that's kind of the shots on goal thing. Not being afraid to be told no, all that type of stuff, which kind of ties into the mindset and the consistency of doing it over and over again.
Just really quickly, this is a sales organization, so you all have pipeline stages, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Everyone knows their pipeline stages and understands, like, is anyone lying to themselves about the pipeline stages? Everyone being honest, like, this is actually not a qualified prospect yet. This is whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's a prospect or a lead, right? You know what I mean? You're not, like, inflating it to kind of fake yourself out and later on be like, I did everything I could when you were just lying. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's sales is about honesty with yourself. That's sales. Sales is honesty with yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and by the way, if you only want to make one sale a week, I mean, I know you may not want to hear that.
Hell no.
Okay? But
that's okay.
But
Because it's their business, and we're here to help them get there.
that's got to be the point, right?
Yes.
That's got to be the point. It's like, what do you want? What do you want? Right? What do you want? Do you want 150K? Do you want 50K? Do you want 500K? And why do you want that? Like, you get that figured out and you get that locked in, like, you got a real purpose behind what you're doing, guess what? The work gets a lot easier because you're not working against yourself. You're working with yourself. You're working with the pull of, like, your desire, your true desire, not what you're trying to tell yourself to make yourself look good in front of other people, like what you really, really want. I can be completely honest. From 2000 to 2007, I wanted more money because my why was educating the boys. That was my why. It wasn't because I told you already, I don't want things. I had a house. I had 2 houses. So, like, I didn't want things like that. And we were doing fine, we were doing just fine, but I needed to be able to pay for some things with the boys because education in Nashville can get kind of dicey. You know what I mean? So that was my why, and that was why I busted ass in my jobs and kind of, okay, this is not going to work out. Okay, I'm going to the next one, and then I went to Emma, and then, like, I went in and had the conversation with Clint and Will, like, yo, I can go get this there. Like, I love y'all, but, like, you gotta bump this pay up. That's what that was about. 2007, when I left, it was, I think I can be the boss. It wasn't money. It was, I think I can be the boss. I think I can. What I didn't anticipate was that the separation was going to happen, the marriage separation. So then I had to pay alimony. So now that was a why, right? So now it's like, okay, I want to be the boss, but I also got to pay this alimony and make sure my kids don't think that somehow I'm, Then in 2009, I started getting around rich people. Wealthy people, I'll say. Not rich people, wealthy people. Billionaires, okay? And then I was like, oh, okay. From 2000 to 2010, I was not around wealthy people. So my goals were not money. Like, I just think that's important to acknowledge and say, like, I didn't start really wanting money until I saw money, like, up close. And I was like, oh, shit. People are living very, very different existences out here, And by the way, again, it wasn't it wasn't because they could go take big vacations. I wasn't tracking their vacations. I was like, this dude owns a hospital system. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he's got a jet, but the jet's not to go to Bermuda. The jet's to fly to New York to go do a business deal, to go buy a company. Oh, that. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I didn't even know it, dude, I did not know it existed. I don't care what I saw on television. I don't care, like, I didn't know it was real. Then I saw it and I was like, oh, this is real, right? And basically that is what gave me the recognition that, like, I could be responsible for bringing a pro sports team to Nashville. If I hadn't had that experience, I don't even think that would have been in my consciousness. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that to say your why is very, very tied to your behavior. Very tied to your behavior. And we could talk here and be rah-rah and all that we want, but like if you don't really have that to get, your subconscious is going to be like, I don't believe you. You're saying you want to make 150K. What I hear is 50K. And basically, that's the lever. That's the lever. Like, we can sit here and talk about activity all day, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like, your why is actually what is going to drive your activity. That's actually it. So just be honest with yourself. You know what I'm saying? And if you're honest with yourself and then you don't like what you're hearing, now we're working. Right? Like, once you're honest with yourself and then we're like, oh, that's what I really think. I'm saying this. I don't really believe that. I really believe this. Okay, now we're doing the real work. That's the real work. That's do the work. I didn't know that before, right? I took my ambition for granted, but like now that my boys are out of the house, it's like a vacuum. I'm like, oh shit. Like, they were the battery in my back. But now I got other things because, like, you know, I see the world and blah, 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 and all this other kind of stuff. But they were my why. That was what was driving me all that time. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have a why big enough to make you hit those numbers, because I'm sorry, I know y'all raised your hands, you're not better than the rest of these people in any way, shape, or form. You're not a better salesperson. You're not. Somewhere though, like your mindset, it's propelling you. It's propelling you. But that's the power of the mind. That's the power of the mind. And everyone in here can, right? Everybody in here can tap into that. You know what I mean? Now, if we want to get back to the tactics, right? The tactics are, oh, by the way, here's the thing about the why thing. The why thing is, I hope you're getting something out of this, but at the end of the day, you're sitting here and this is your time. Like, you're giving me your time and attention. This is the most valuable thing you could possibly give me. You couldn't pay me enough for what you're giving me by sitting here and actually spending the time and paying attention to me. You couldn't pay me what your time is worth, okay? So if you're going to spend time in this building and coming here and talking to them and reporting and listening to Nick and listening to Rand and doing this whole thing, if you're going to spend that time doing that, make it worth it. Make it worth it. You know what I'm saying? Make it so that 10 years later, you can call them and be like, I'm going to make a Hollywood trailer about my life story. And they'll be like, I want to be in it. Right? Because I didn't have to ask Clint twice. He knows he's $100 million richer because of me. I'm serious. I've never said that to him or I've never flaunted it. And I know I didn't do everything right. But dude, there's no way. You know what I'm saying? There's no way. And I didn't make all that money on that, but that's not the value. You know what I'm saying? The value is what that turned me into. You know what I'm saying? It turned me into the kind of person that is going to be able to make $100 million anytime I want, over and over and over again for the rest of my life, because I know I've done it. I've done it. Does that make sense? Right? So your why, you're building on your success principles. You know what I'm saying? You're really getting honest with yourself. Really being honest with yourself. This is the thing. You know, don't lie to yourself. Be truthful to yourself. And then it's activity, okay? and it's quality of approach, and it's quality of your leads. Two of those things I think you have 100% control over. One of them, I'm not sure how much control you have over, but when you max out those first two, then I'd be knocking on his door and I'd be like, these fucking leads stuck, dude. Right? But until your activity is through the roof, and everybody will know, and until the quality of your sales pitch is the best in the world, you can't say shit to that man. You can't say anything. Until that, you got work. Hold on. Until that, you got work to do. Control what you can control first, until you can't control it anymore. And then look at the external variables. But you can't be sure if the leads are no good if you're not working them well enough, or you're not working enough of them. Facts? Facts? Facts. Facts.
All right. So last thing before we wrap. First of all, before I do the last and final questions, is there any questions that you guys have before I do that? Anything else? This has been freaking awesome. I don't know about you guys. Yes, Shelby.
So mine is about mindset, and I am a firm believer in mindset and your why and tapping into that, because that's so powerful. But as being humans, and me personally, like, I can get really down on myself and like forget my why, and it's like I know that that's important, but there's like an in-between gap of like how to get back to it that I'm not good at, and I don't know how to tell my agents who also need my help with it, like how to get. It's just like, well, get your head right.
Well,
yeah.
And
hold on. Your why just changed drastically, right, when they welcomed the birth of their first child. So
Does the why stay the same?
No.
So you have to search for it on a daily basis?
All the time. All the time. At a certain point, you will realize that you have more control over beating yourself up than you're giving yourself credit for. Like, there's a little bit of like scapegoating there, that like at a certain point you realize I'm Oz. You know what I mean? Ultimately. And will you ever stop beating yourself up 100%? No. But how fast you get back, that's the thing. Now, the one thing I will say is, just getting back to the well-being stuff, is how you feel about yourself is a momentum thing, right? So you have to create momentum. And the beginning of creating momentum takes a ton of energy. You know what I mean? That beginning piece. So like, I hear what you're saying about the belief and the mindset and sort of, but I also hear you're saying you're not quite satisfied with where you are with that. And that probably means you have to put in more effort on that. Yeah. Okay? Like your current momentum is not carrying you at the level that you desire.
no, I've definitely gotten lazy with it.
Yeah, okay. And that happens. That happens, right? You know, sometimes we start feeling good. Mm-hmm. We're like, ooh, I've been exercising, I've been eating right, I could take a day off. You take a day off, and it's like, okay, are you going to get back the next day, though? And if you don't get back the next day, then it's like, ooh, now you just took 2 days off. You get to a week off, and it is almost like you never were doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's messed up like that. Like, the thing is, we want the momentum to carry us longer than it will, but that's not how physics works. You know what I mean? Like, it'll carry you. You want to get it revved up so that, you know, you get a little low on gas and it'll carry you, but it's not a replacement for gas. You know what I mean? You're in charge of the momentum. You're in charge of the momentum. So you got it. It's work. It's work. It's a daily practice. It's the only way to say it. Every single day. What matters more than anything is what you can do every single day. I don't care about the intensity, nor do I care about the volume. I care about the regularity. I care about the consistency. I care about you doing it every day, because you know what? That's what your subconscious cares about. Your subconscious is keeping score. That's the truth. Your subconscious knows, like, yo, homegirl's been doing this for 50 straight days. this must be the truth. This must be the truth. And that's when you get that like, whew, you know what I mean? That's when you get the wind kind of lifting you up. Before then, it's, you know, the burden of proof. You know what I mean? The burden of proof is on you.
Is it fair to say winning and losing are both habits?
Oh, dude, everything is a habit. Yes, and everything is a habit. Actually, like, success is a byproduct of your habits. So, like, you actually shouldn't even be focused on the success. You should be 1,000% focused on your habits. That's like the only thing you should be focused on. Is what are my habits today? Which of these habits are actually contributing to where I want to be? Which of these habits do I know in my honest appraisal of myself are not contributing to what I say out of my mouth I want to achieve, and which one has to go first? And what am I going to replace it with? This gets back to your question, right? Which of these things, don't try to change everything at once, because you'll fail. You know what I mean? But find something that you can focus on and change it for 2 months, 3 months. And like, become a new, better version of yourself. Dope, that's awesome. Now that, you know, that was a big issue 60, 90 days ago, it's no longer an issue. Now you have the energy to go to the next thing. You know what I mean? You don't have the energy to change everything about yourself right away today. Nobody does. Nobody does. You do this over time.
Knowing that all these guys, the majority of these guys are less than 2 years into their journey, they've been employees, most of them, almost all of them, their whole life.
Yeah.
All right? And now they're no longer employees anymore. What would Marcus today tell this Marcus?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we leave them with today.
I'd be like, dude, you're awesome. You're so awesome.
I agree.
You're awesome, dude. You know? You're doing the best you can. You're stepping out there on faith every day. You're working at it. You know? Don't be so hard on yourself, but keep working hard. You know? You're awesome.
With the shake of your heads, would you guys say that this guy is a success?
Yes.
Marcus, are you done?
Dude, I swear on everything that's real, I swear I think I'm just getting started. I really do. And that's not marketing. That's not me trying to be fake humble. I really think, like, it's just starting right now. That's the only time I got chills all day. But, like, I think I'm just, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so 2 things. 1, will you come back to see us?
Okay, here's the question.
Yeah.
What will you do for me to come back?
There it is. There it is.
What about this? What about
Can we
that?
do it? 2 million in 1 week? 2 million in 1 week? All right. That was not planned. That was awesome.
How about that?
See, he's on a whole nother level, dude. And secondly, MarcusWhitney.com. Like, seriously, you get to hear from this guy every single week. When you read it, it's like he's talking to you. He is talking to you. It's one of the most well-written things. I can't wait for you guys to get your hands on his book. I was lucky enough to get an advanced copy of it. And
it's so much better than that now. Oh, dude, I can't. I'm so excited right now, man.
But the way I look at it is,
Yes.
you've heard of, like, you know, it's old school Jay-Z versus new school Jay-Z. Everybody still loves the old stuff. I still love the old Marcus stuff.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. But last thing I'm going to ask, MarcusWhitney.com, sign up for the 2 Worlds.
2 Worlds.
Grind.
Yep, 2 Worlds. Yep.
Subscribe. You can get your phones out now and do that. And then can we would you guys all like to have a big, gigantic picture with everybody and Marcus in it? I think that'd be fantastic. Can we do that, Dale? I think we could probably, just push some furniture out of these things right here, and we can all pile right in here, and we can get an awesome picture with him right now. So, big thank you to Marcus Whitney, guys. Give him a round of applause. Big thank you to his crew who was filming all this.